Hello, this is Steve Ramona, your host for Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I want to thank our sponsors, Infone, and with Infone, you can place your business on everybody's cell phone, turn their business into a web app, and with a click of a button, they'll have access to you 24/7. And also Pantheon.fm. Have you ever thought about monetizing and taking your podcast to the next level? Well, Pantheon can do that. Let us show you how. Reach out to Steve Ramona, the host, at infone.co/SR1, and I will go over with you how you can make your podcast really stand out. Let's enjoy the show. Thanks again, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is Steve Ramona, your host. This show is Going Music. I know a lot of my friends and family out there know I'm not a big music guy. My wife is, and her daughter is. But I'm excited to learn more about music and what Gerard's doing to help you to help with music. Gerard, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Happy to be here.
Why are you getting into music?
You know, I semi-joke all the time that I'm going to write a book one day, and it's going to be titled Completely by Accident, How I Stumbled into the Music Industry. So I first started my podcast, The Quinn Spinn, 10 years ago as an outlet from corporate America. I was working a corporate job at the time, and it was a cool job, don't get me wrong, but I just needed something that was mine, right? I had just stopped playing football within the prior year, and I just needed that thing, that hobby, which is what the show started as. But it quickly became more than a hobby, and it quickly, took this emphasis on independent artists, independent musicians, and it gave me such an appreciation for the grind of the independent creative. That job that I had, that corporate job, it was a contract gig. It expired at the end of that year. Actually, it was 2013. And so then I became an independent creative unwittingly. And so I really got, acquainted pretty quickly into this journey with, the triumph and the struggle of that in equal parts, and maybe not so equal, actually. Maybe the struggle was a little more than the triumph at first, is because it's trial and error, but we connected with so many musicians. I mean, when I say we, it was me and a bunch of my community theater friends hosting the show, for a couple of years here in Jersey, where I'm currently located right now. I'm on a little bit of a retreat, if you will. And, we hosted so many guests from different continents. We hosted events. We had a good run for a bunch of people who had no idea what we were doing, starting a podcast, right? And that lasted about 2 years into 2015. Then I moved back to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where I went to college the middle of that year. And by the beginning of 2016, I had started Lehigh Valley Underground, which was the companion blog, which the Quinn Spinn would then be under the umbrella of. Lehigh Valley, of course, is Eastern Pennsylvania, about an hour north of Philly. There's a music scene there, and I just kind of got the idea, hey, why don't I start writing reviews and start supporting this local scene and give us a foothold somewhere, because initially the Quinn Spinn's initial run had kind of felt too spread out. It didn't feel like we really had a home base. So I walked right into a home base in the Lehigh Valley. And so 2016, 17, most of 2018, we're there. We're winning local awards. We're doing events. We're collaborating with organizations. We really had a nice run. We were well integrated into the community. And then toward later 2018, I kind of felt this pull to do more. I felt this pull to grow personally, to grow professionally. I felt like there was a lot about the industry I didn't know, which was preventing me and thereby the platform from serving at its highest capability. So I started looking to go to a music town. And New York, of course, was the obvious choice because it's closest in proximity to where I grew up and where I was living at the time. But Nashville just came calling, just started making a lot of sense very quickly. And so between Labor Day of 2018 and the Monday after Thanksgiving of that same year, it went from just an idea to, okay, I'm packing up my car and I'm moving to Nashville. And we rebranded to Underground Music Collective, which the idea between that was not to put a location in the name because we'd be based in Nashville, but we'd be building these pipelines to and from Nashville, as Music City, as the center of the industry, to create opportunities to educate artists more on the industry as we were learning about it too, because there was a lot that I had to learn when I got there. And of course, we still had the blog. Of course, the podcast is about to hit its 10th anniversary next month as of recording. But there's been more and more of an educational focus, more and more of a storytelling and community building focus to the platform. We do a Wednesday Wisdom series where folks from around the industry or even creative industries in general will come in and offer a piece of insight from their experiences in the creative space, navigating it as creative entrepreneurs. We've done virtual panels highlighting a variety of topics. I started a coaching program through UMC earlier this year. We officially launched that in March, and that is just so fulfilling right now. And it's really, foundational, values based, in terms of, okay, before you can get to where you want to go, you have to exactly know what you're aiming for and know the values that are driving you. That's really the emphasis, of the program, because without those values, without that mission, that vision defined by those values, it's easy to get off track and it's easy to get pulled in different directions. So that's one thing that we're doing, on the educational end. I mean, and there's just so much more, that we're doing to just grow this platform and to include creatives of all disciplines. And I'm really excited for the future as well, because I think you're going to see more and more of that kind of creeping its way into UMC. UMC, of course, being the foundation that got us started here in Nashville, but I'm excited to see where that starts to grow out, from here. The second half of this year, of course, I'm brainstorming and I'm loading us up to see what the next 10, 15, 20 years are going to be like. And there's definitely room for people in more creative fields to get involved, to get in the mix with us, get in the mix with our community, and really start to build that community, build that ecosystem even stronger. So, and music, of course, is what brought us to the dance. It's the thing, it's the platform, it's the basis of the platform, I should say. It's, I am a huge music guy just across the board. I was in choir theater growing up in high school, college, and I love music of every genre, at least elements of every genre. And it's just something that's always resonated with me. The world without music would be a very boring place. Imagine watching a movie without a music score. Imagine, certain moments set to music that aren't set to music. Like it would just be a very dry and dull and gray place without it. So such an important part of my life, such an important part, I think, of the creative ecosystem in general. And that's what really draws me to it.
Yeah, I love it because I'm not a big music guy, but there are songs that I hear, like Rockies is the one that hits me. It brings back high school football because we play it in the locker room before the game. It's just, and that's the great thing about music. So let me understand, let the audience understand. So you coach privately one-on-one, but you also have this community. So there's two ways that you can help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the UMC coaching program in this iteration is one-on-one coaching. We are working on some group offerings as well as offering more community components in a formal sense. We're working on a membership component to our platform where you can join and have access to all kinds of programs and events and the community at large at a deeper level. The one-on-one coaching, again, is very values-based. It's foundational. It's really helping you point your compass toward your authentic vision and helping you define and drill down exactly what that is, and then setting goals and breaking out those goals in a way that's going to help you attack them, right? It's going to help you move toward them without getting distracted by things that are outside of your vision, outside of your values. I think that's really important because I know, having been on this journey for 10 years now, there have been a lot of shiny objects, that have come and gone in those years. There have been a lot of things where it's like, you get pulled in a different direction, or maybe like somebody tells you something and it sounds like a good idea, but it's not necessarily in line with where you see things going, right. And so I think it's very important to really define what that is for yourself and for your platform, and then take actions, in terms of the tasks that you perform, in terms of the relationships you build, and the components to your ecosystem, like that all feed into that specific vision, right? Because if you don't do that, and if you don't have that defined, then somebody else is going to try to tell you what it is. And oftentimes, more often than not, in that case, it's going to be something that pulls you away from your purpose. So I really want to encourage the musicians in our community, and even those clients that I have who aren't musicians, because I have a couple of those now, which is interesting. I want to encourage those people to move toward what their purpose is. But the first step to doing that is defining it in the first place.
You gotta have a roadmap. You don't have a roadmap, you can't go anywhere. We got all these GPSs on our phones. We had maps before that. If we didn't have those, we wouldn't get to our place. I love what you're saying. Ideally, is it musicians you're looking for? Somebody in the audience might be hearing this. Is it artists? Is it, or just total creatives?
Musicians, again, musicians are the primary focus of our platform, Underground Music Collective. However, when I say musicians, oftentimes they do have other creative disciplines, right? Or they perform other roles in the industry. And a lot of the foundational methods, it's values based, it can apply to any creative professional, right? As far as the coaching program goes. And that's something interesting that I'm finding, because like I'm working with teachers right now. I'm working with folks who are trying to build other kinds of platforms, but like a lot of these same principles apply, right? In terms of defining your values, seeing how that plays out in your mission and vision, and then the goal setting methods, and of course, for musicians, we go into the music industry stuff and the nuances of, say, your streaming platforms and how to get your music ready for streaming, performance rights, that kind of thing, like all these music industry specific topics. But the beauty of the program right now is that there's it can go in a number of directions based on what you're trying to accomplish, because there are so many foundational common threads that I think creatives of any discipline can use and apply to their journeys. So that's kind of a roundabout way of saying our primary focus is musicians, but also I'm not afraid to dive into other realms.
What's the one mistake musicians make that you're coaching with purpose? Or a couple, and something generally the audience will go, oh man, I do that all the time.
I think existentially, it's not defining why they want to do it before they do it. You have a lot of folks, who come into the industry thinking, or who move to Nashville, for example. I'll take moving to Nashville, because a lot of people move to Nashville thinking, this is going to be the step that makes me big. I'm just going to bust for a little while and some star is going to walk by and discover me. And then all my problems will be solved. I'll get signed to a label. I'll live happily ever after. That's not how it goes. You have to define why you're doing this, because your desire to get big, your desire to get rich and famous isn't going to carry you through the tough moments. It's not going to carry you through. So what is going to carry you through is the purpose, is that North Star, is that vision that you have for the future and your role in it and the impact that you want to have. And I think another mistake people make is not realizing that this takes a lot of work. I find myself saying this a lot lately. So many people I've heard say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I don't like that saying, because the truth is, do what you love and you're going to work 5 times harder for it, because you're building it from zero. You're building, all you're doing is building from an idea. You're building it completely from scratch. And so while you're figuring out even what that is, you're going to be doing everything yourself until you learn enough about what you're trying to do and the platform and the different roles involved to know what good is, and then hire according to those roles, but also hire people who are in alignment with your vision to your team, right? And that takes time, and it takes trial and error. It takes making a lot of mistakes. And I think so often, the stigma or the idea even people get in their mind is that, a career in music is the antidote to work. That's not true. You're going to work harder for this than you've ever worked for anything in your life. It's, in my experience, building the UMC platform to the point I have has been more challenging than any 9-to-5 job I've ever had, because you're building from an idea. This whole thing literally started with an idea for a podcast in my childhood bedroom. That's it. And like in those 10 years, like I've been through every ringer imaginable, and all I realize now is like, hey, I stuck with it and I learned those lessons and I've applied those lessons, and you're going to take your lumps and you're going to go through those seasons, those ebbs and flows. But as you go through those ebbs and flows, you have to have something to lean on that's more than the thing that you don't have yet. Your dreams, your rich and famous lifestyle, like you need to have a purpose. You need to remember why you're doing it. You need to be able to go towards something and be like, that's why I can't quit. That's why I want this, because it's bigger than me. It's got to be bigger than you.
Yeah, and 12-hour a day work is what people with burning desire have. You have a burning desire to launch this. And you're right, you work harder than you ever can, because if you don't have a burning desire, you're going to work to 12 to 5 and go on vacation all the time, because it's not burnt inside you like you're saying. I love how you coach that way, because everybody has it. It's just they don't know how to focus. You coach them. I have this desire, and you coach them to get to that desire or the purpose, right?
Right. And, one thing that I really want to drive home is that my method is with you instead of at you, to borrow a phrase from the angry therapist, John Kim. I don't ever want to seem like I'm preaching from the pulpit. This is all stuff that I've learned myself on my own journey. I remember back in the early days of the Quinn Spinn, that I would be pulling, if I didn't have another odd job to do, I'd pull 14, 16-hour days in my parents' basement. Now, was I using that time productively? No, I was mostly just answering submission emails because I didn't know how to build a business back then. I didn't know all the other components. But like, you have to be willing to put that time in. You have to be willing to just dig in and do the work, and even just to figure out what the work is. And part of the advantage to enrolling in our coaching program now is you are working with somebody who's made all those mistakes, so you don't have to, who can help point you in the direction to get there, even if not more quickly, with more resources and more knowledge and the experience backing you, and somebody who can help you navigate the challenges, somebody who can help you stay accountable to your goals and not get off track and off purpose. Right. And I know that from experience. I know that because I've lived it. I know that because I've been through all these different iterations of this platform and all these different evolutions. And it still challenges me. It still tests me every day. But another thing I've learned is like, you have to learn to love that challenge. You have to learn to embrace those tests. You have to rise to the occasion. And the way you do that is not by sitting back and wishing. It's not by waiting for it to happen, waiting for someone to drop an opportunity in your lap. It's by digging in, doing the work, not being afraid to make mistakes, and asking for help when you need it.
Experience is the best teacher.
Absolutely.
And that's why a coach has experience. And I've interviewed a lot of coaches. I love that you said that, because I would be not a good music coach because I don't know anything about music. I would not help them. I know business, but I don't know the intricacies of music like you do. So it's beautifully said, and I love it. What's the challenges with your business?
Well, right now, I'm actually in a season where I'm kind of retooling. We've had a lot of amazing opportunities this year. We've had so many incredible opportunities to expand the reach of our platform, to make amazing connections, and to do great work. We've launched a lot of initiatives. And now what I'm doing, what I'm kind of taking the second half of 2023 to do, is shore up the foundation to ensure the sustainable long-term success of the platform. What do the next 10, 15, 20 years of UMC look like right now? Because we've launched a lot and we've had a lot go out, and we've had a lot of growth, a lot of new connections, a lot of new ideas. So my job the second half of 2023 is to make sense of them and to figure out who I need around me, because for the most part, this whole platform is still bootstrapped. It's still mostly just me. I have some help, here and there, with certain functions, but the day to day comes down to me. And one valuable lesson I've learned over the past couple of years is you need a team around you, because you're only one person, and no matter how much you love something, no matter how bad you want it, if you're only one person trying to manage something the scope of UMC right now, you're going to burn yourself out. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm figuring out, okay, who do I need around me to make this succeed? What skills do they need to have that maybe I don't have? What would I like to delegate to somebody else? And also, like, who can UMC serve? Is it just musicians? Is it just even the music industry? Or are all these other adjacent creatives able to come into the mix in a greater sense? So there's a lot happening with the evolution of the platform right now, like actively, like in this notebook, there's a lot happening. You're getting a little behind the scenes look. There's a lot happening.
I love it.
In this notebook. I told you offline, I was literally just journaling on some of this before our call today, because like I'm really excited for the future, but I also realize like it's time for the platform to take another leap. It's time for it to take another step up. It's time for me to take another step up with it. Who do I need to be to lead this vision? And what does the platform need to be itself in order to go to the next level? Because again, we've had so many amazing opportunities, and it's made me and the platform by proxy really aspire to greater things and really aspire to have a greater impact. And I believe that we can do it. I've definitely seen so many flashes of where we can go in 2023. And that is in large part due to some of the amazing people that I do have on my team right now. The folks at Branding PR in particular have done an amazing job connecting us with the greater industry and so many creatives across different disciplines. And it's got me dreaming big again. And it's got me thinking, where can we go? But before we can get there, how do we need to level up? How do we need to evolve? And so that's what I'm figuring out the second half of 2023. And that I embrace that challenge. I feel like I've joked about this, although I don't know how much I'm joking. I feel like the 2021 version of me, when faced with this level up, would have been hyperventilating in the corner. You know what I mean? Yeah. But now, because I took the leap from corporate America for good at the beginning of 2021. And I'm like, okay, I'm diving full time into it. This is the attempt. Whatever happens, happens. Right. And that leap will teach you everything you need to know about yourself. And I don't just mean professionally. What are the holes in your game as a person that you need to shore up and that you need to improve upon to show up better for the business? What habits do you need to cut out? What relationships do you need to manage better? What relationships maybe do you need to end? Things like that. What skills do you need? What knowledge do you need? That kind of thing. And so the past 2.5 years has been one long string of challenges, right? But I'm at the point where, you kind of get up with the blood on your lip a little bit. And you're like, okay, let's go. Where's the next one? And I'm like, I'm ready for the next challenge because I know it's going to make us even better than we already are. Everything over since taking that final leap from corporate America has done so. And not to say it's all been glamorous, because there have been a lot of low points in addition to the highs, but you'll learn over this time to not get too high or too low. And don't get too high when you have a success. Don't get too low when it seems like everything's caving in, because it's all temporary. And you can always build momentum one way or another off of those things. If you have a moment of triumph, okay, where are you going to take it from here? If you have a low moment, it's like, okay, how are you going to pick yourself back up off the mat? Because you have to have this sense of resilience. And it's one of those things, it's a lesson that does show up, it continues to show up for you. It just takes different forms the further you advance on your journey. You're met with new pressures. You're met with new challenges. You're met with new things that you have to navigate as you go through this. And so I'm at the point now where I understand that that's never going to end, and if I want it to end, then yeah, okay, I'll go back to corporate America. And I'm not knocking anyone who's got that lifestyle and likes it, but it's not for me. You know what I mean? I was very bored. I was very underwhelmed by my experience working in somebody else's cubicle. So this is the path, and so I'm very excited for where that leads. And part of that excitement, honestly, comes from knowing that okay, whatever challenge comes up, it's going to get handled and it's going to get taken care of. And we are going to come out of it stronger.
I love it. I love it. Let's do a shout out. We ran out of time now. How can people get a hold of you now that they're excited? If your burning desire sure comes out big time, how can they find you?
Undergroundmusiccollective.com is our central hub for all things independent music, community creativity, and more. You can also find us on Instagram at UMC Nashville. That tends to be our main social handle, although you should also check out YouTube, because that's where we are really trying to build up right now, primarily with new episodes of the Quinn Spinn every week. They come out every Thursday. And of course, I'm posting shorts, clips from our episodes. There's a lot of coaching content coming out of our episodes now, which, of course, speaks to the point in the journey we're on. The Quinn Spinn too, at Quinn Spinn Official. That's 2 N's in Quinn, 2 N's in Spin. We're actually doing a birthday show, 10th anniversary birthday show on the 10th anniversary of episode 1 at a venue called the Cobra in Nashville, September 8th. So you'll want to tune in there if you're in Nashville or can get to Nashville. It's going to be a fun night. And if you want to follow me, at Gerard Longo 12, GERARD LONGO 12, you get some UMC and Quinn Spinn stuff, but you also get, just other slices of life. So, if you care about that at all, then give me a follow and maybe I'll follow you back.
There you go. I love this. I love what you're talking about. We're running out of time here. It's been a great show. I want to thank you for being on. I've learned a lot about music. I'm not that I'm going to be a musician, but now I know how to share you with other musicians. And I do have some musicians I want to connect you with. With that being said, you're awesome. Keep it going. But I want to ask one more favor. Can you leave my audience just a little tip that you've learned through your life?
It has to be about something bigger than you. Whatever you're building, whatever impact you want to have, I'm a firm believer in the rising tide raises all boats. And you have to meet people where they are in order to get them to come in and invest in what you're doing, engage in what you're doing. as we build that community, as we build a concept that's bigger than us, we're going to see a greater impact from that. But it starts with, again, defining that vision, defining your values, and how to connect those to other people that are like-minded, that are moving in similar directions, and how you can all win together.